Good morning, good evening, and good night, everybody. My name is Sarah, and yes, once again, every single video I post in the month of October, I'm doing a different cosplay. You've heard this spiel by now. Today, I'm Dipper Pines from the show Gravity Falls, one of my favorite cartoons, and I've already done Dipper's sister Mabel, but personally, I like my Dipper cosplay better, so we're adding this in because I can. But moving on from that, today we're talking about all the book series I will not be continuing. Now, I have done this video before. I didn't realize that until after I pulled all the books for this. I made sure to go through and remove any books I've already talked about. So if you want to go see that, that was 7 months ago. My opinions have changed a little bit. However, these are just the new ones that I'm just adding onto the list. And if you want to see everything else, I will link it below, of course. But for now, we're just talking about the ones that I'm like, maybe, leave it as is. It's good while it lasted. We're not continuing it. Now, the first book I will be adding to this list of series I will not be continuing is All the Stars and Teeth. The second book is already out for this. I bought this because pirate, adventure, magic, ocean, voyage, epicness with mermaids and stowaways, and I'm like, yes, that sounded so cool. And then I read it, and yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think this is a bad book. I gave it 3 stars. It was disappointing, however, and I personally don't want to continue reading disappointing books. I had great high expectations, but the pacing and the way that this book was structured, it felt a little weird to me, and I don't want to be continuing on. I feel like I know where this is going to go anyways. I mean, again, I love my ocean books, but let's just leave this as a standalone because I don't want to know how this ends, and actually see it fall apart in front of me. This story follows a runaway princess after she fails her very public display of magic. She is forced into exile to try and find a way to save her kingdom from her own failure. A lot of stuff happens, a lot of reveals dealing with magic and the way that things are evolved around this world. It's fine, I think. Again, it was disappointing. I didn't like the structure, but the plot idea was interesting. And again, I love ocean settings. Disappointment. Next series I will not be continuing is Timekeeper. I didn't even know this was a series up until I was looking through my Goodreads and checking off what do I need to talk about in this video. And apparently this is a trilogy. This is set in sort of a Victorian steampunk world where if a clock tower gets damaged, the time around it basically freezes, things happen, and it's all of the mechanic's job to make sure that time keeps running in this world. There's a lot of mythology going on here as the time god or whatever. It's how this came to be. However, the main focus of the story is a romance between our main engineer and the clock spirit. It's a gay relationship. It's cute and adorable. I had some issues with it. It wasn't a perfect book. I gave it 4 stars. Totally respectable rating. I enjoyed it. It's just and there was just a couple things miscommunication and hatred. And then there's this whole other plot line where our main character's father went missing in a town that is completely stopped. Time doesn't work there anymore and no one can get in or out. And it's I have some issues. And so while this book was enjoyable, it had some issues. I don't plan on continuing on because frankly, I don't know what the next stories are going to be about. This is entirely works as a standalone, doesn't need to be added on to. I will keep it as is. The cute fluff between the clock spirit and the engineer, that's all I needed. I don't need any more drama, which I feel like the next books are going to add on. So we're going to ignore their existence. And that is why I will not be continuing that series. Moving on, the next series I will not be completing is Ace of Shades. I'm gonna say the main reason I do not like this book is insta-love. And it didn't need to happen at all. Literally the characters show up, they walk into each other, and immediate connection. That's it. And I wish they built it up a little bit more because this entire book is about their relationship. Yes, it follows a whole bunch of other plot lines and magic and wonder and a world of gambling and what happens when people shadow magic. Y'all know Yu-Gi-Oh! It's shadow magic in this. And I'm why did you spend so much time on this relationship that you started with insta-love to have be the main center of the story? I have no reason to care about this. I have no reason why these characters are connected. And I know continuing on, the rest of the series is all going to be focused around their relationship and trying to navigate this world. And I don't want that at all. Now, once again, don't get me wrong, I gave this book 4 stars. It was enjoyable. I enjoyed this world. I enjoyed this way that the magic worked. I liked how everything was set up. This takes place in a Sin City where gambling rules everything and there's different factions of gangs where people can work their magic in different ways. I have magic of dancing, so my dancing is naturally better than everyone else. I have magic that can manipulate a soul in a game. There's very different types of magic, ones you can learn and ones you never can. And I liked the way that was functioning, but it wasn't explained well. I didn't like the relationships. the setting was cool. And that's about it. And there's also, like, a whole thing going on where, like, our main character's only in the city because her stepmother is missing, and, like, that's important or whatever. But, like, they never really give us reason to care about this missing stepmother. So there's a lot of, I enjoyed it, but I have no reason to continue on with this book. Next up is a book I should have gotten rid of by now, but I have yet to leave my house to donate it, and that is Foundryside. I will not be continuing the series, frankly, because I don't even remember the main character's name, and I feel like if you're gonna continue a series, you should know who the characters are. So this story is set in a Venetian-inspired world where a bunch of merchant houses rule all of the land, and anything outside of their domain is known as the Foundryside, the lawless land where people can do whatever they want as long as they don't get caught. Our main character is, like, manipulating the magic in this world where, like, everything kind of has, like, almost a coding to it. They're told, hey, wheel, you're going downhill, so you should be building a momentum and moving forward, and the wheel believes it, even if it's on flat lands, it just starts moving. And so our main character can see that, she can manipulate that, she can do these really unique stuff that no one else can do, and that kind of, like, feeds into her plotline or whatever. There's, like, some sort of key that she steals. Like, it's a thief story, it's kind of like a thief story gone wrong, and I'm like, that premise is really cool. I like the idea of coding magic. That's all I know about the story. And I kind of remember the ending, but also I'm, like, terrified to see how the ending turns out in the next book, because you know something's gonna go wrong, because this whole story is about stuff going wrong. I didn't care about the main character. I don't even remember her name. I don't even, like, there's some characters who I got really attached to in this, and I don't even remember their name. It's very bland, very, like, you felt like you've read this a million times already. So while it was interesting to read, I have no intent on, like, picking up the next book, because I feel like I'm just gonna forget about it too. And that's money wasting on stuff I don't even care about. Okay, after that we're going to talk about Children of Blood and Bones. I have a physical copy of this book, I just can't seem to find it. So I've read the first 2 books of this. I loved book 1. I loved book 1 so much. Book 2 was such a letdown though. And I don't even want to pick up book 3 anymore. Maybe if my library gets an audiobook, I might pick it up in the far distant future. But for now, I'm just not interested. So this story is a West African-inspired fantasy where our main character is on a quest to bring back magic that has been wiped from the land around the time that she was born. Along the way, we meet the prince and princess of this land who are doing everything they can to stop this woman from bringing back magic because they believe that their father's decision to remove all the magic was correct. There is kind of a love triangle integrated into this, and I felt like it was fine. Book 1 was very cliche, but it did cliche in, like, a nice, enjoyable way. I was really liking it. When book 2 came along, however, I felt like we were following a completely different story. We were introduced to so many new characters. None of the characters' motivations made sense, and while I loved book 1, it didn't carry through to book 2. Book 2 was all these cliches in a negative light, and I wanted to like it. I really did, because I loved book 1, but book 2 was such a letdown. I don't even know if I want to continue on with book 3. Again, like I mentioned, if my library does get it, I will, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Next book to talk about is One of Us is Lying. I loved book 1 of this. This is a murder mystery. 5 kids walk into detention, only 4 walk out alive, and throughout the story you're trying to figure out who is the murderer of this now dead child. And it's really cool and really fascinating. And then there's a sequel. I'm like, why is there a sequel? Everything was wrapped up in book 1. We found everything out. I don't think murder mysteries should have sequels. I feel like everything should be compacted into one story. And book 2 is all about, like, almost copycat something. I didn't look too deep into the synopsis of this. I frankly don't care, because murder mysteries shouldn't have sequels. That is my standpoint on this. And also, to be fair, I gave One of Us Lying 3 stars. Honestly, I feel like I should have given it 4 stars because my memory of it is quite enjoyable, but I understand murder mysteries aren't really my thing, and I didn't like the relationships that the characters were developing throughout the story, so that might have been my main issue with it. But going on to the sequel, where the only connection we have are copycats and friendships, I'm like, I'm not sure I like that. I have no interest in reading book 2 just because of the way that this first story was structured. Like, we had everything completed. There's no open-ended questions. Why is there a sequel? There's nothing else really to tell about this. And so I don't want a rehashing of the first one because, like, again, I had some issues with the relationships, and if that's what's carrying over to the sequel, why should I care? And finally, the last book I have to talk about is We Hunt the Flames Now. I gave this book 4 stars, and I feel like, once again, I should change my rating down to a 3 stars because I just, like, I had high expectations, and from what I remember, I was kind of disappointed. So We Hunt the Flames is a story about a person trying to, I want to say revive magic, but that's not quite. She's trying to go on a quest to do something, and along the way, like, some prince comes and is like, no, I need to stop you, or you're doing something bad, or whatever. It's like, I didn't care. I don't remember. Like, that's all I know about the story after reading it. I'm not going to continue the sequel if I don't remember the characters' names. I don't remember the plots. I vaguely remember the settings. And I know the relationships was really weird because it opens up with an established relationship and then moves into a love triangle. It's like, I'm sorry, that's emotional cheating there. If that's what I remember of this book is emotional cheating, why would I continue of it? Because I frankly hate any form of cheating in any literature. If you're having feelings for someone else, talk about it. There's also like the vague hints of me being disappointed because I was really excited for book 1, and then I read it, and then I was sad. I was sad because I wanted it to be good, and it wasn't. I gave it 4 stars, but again, I feel like from what I remember about it, it really should be lowered to a 3. So yeah, I will not be continuing on with this series because it's bothering me. It's bothering me in my memory. I think I've gotten rid of my physical copy. Once again, it's missing. I don't know where it is. It's just gone forever. So those are all the books I'm adding to the list of series I will not be finishing. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you want to try and convince me of maybe trying out the next book in this, I'll be willing to listen. I'll be willing to listen if you can make your case. So please leave that down in the comment section down below. Don't forget, every single Monday and Friday, I'll be in a different cosplay, so you're welcome to guess what my next character will be. Also down in the comment section down below. While you're down there, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and as always, good night, good evening, and good morning, everybody.